it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it for us.
Back on this rap-ish, I ain't even broke a sweat, homie, this practice. Pondering my next move, staring at my track list, hope I ain't miss my window. Praying like a Baptist, Seattle's own, tired of this Game of Thrones. They made a list of the best rappers and guess who wasn't on? While the disrespect continues, I'm steady packing these venues. Guess if you ain't at the table, you on the menu. And I'm that spitter, baby, they don't want you to see, but everybody's out to Capitol Hill's rocking with me. Boys smoke the trays and plan to getting their life together. I'm comfortable with my role, so I'm like, whatever. Me? I ain't got a job, but I work hard. And you don't work hard, but you got a job. The irony is I'm judged while you feel the applause. I'm slept on, that's why I had to set this alarm. My dudes is armed, I'm armed with this arm charm. Body banging like she got that cream from Barry Bonds. Yeah.
I did it for the city, I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it for us.
That Dre season is here, a real hitter with a mic, I'm everything that they fear. With that hood ain't the same, I was all on their ass, I'm level-headed. So yo, my dudes love when I spaz, and I'm so over Seattle's passive-aggressive attitude. They don't call you back, what they really saying is F you. While I'm from the same place, I move at a different pace. I prefer if you just said it to my face, damn, I did it.
I did it for the city, I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it for us.
Average dudes with they average spit, writing average rhymes, knocking average chicks. The closer I get, I can feel the people starting to shift. I'm loyal to a fault, and everybody can't come with. Rap's a rich man's game, I'm only playing with change. They bang models and singers, I'm knocking my old flame, I'm different. The crowd, I move with the chosen few. Black thoughts, I could be the front man for the roots. No diamonds and gold, I'm on my sticks and stones. If we can see your panty line, you should have on a thong. My team is strong, through this fire we forged a bond. And they already know what it is when I get on to the hearse. Party like it's December 31st. When I'm on my deathbed, I probably cracking my nurse. You ain't got the bars to compete. I'm a verbal athlete, deflating these boys so they say that I cheat. Damn, I did it.
I did it for the city, I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it for us.
Yeah. I should probably start by apologizing for the long wait, man. You know, I know I be tripping. But I'm not just a rapper, I'm an artist. And, you know, my creative process is a little bit different than most. Nonetheless, I want to welcome everybody out to the Dre's Experience. I got TCF in the building, my whole camp's here with me. I got the band in here laying this cool-ass vibe. And I'm Seattle's own. Let's get into it.
Welcome. Grand Rising and good morning to everybody out there. Welcome to the Morning Update Show. I'm your host for the day, Trey Holiday, and we have a jam-packed show coming up for you today. So we're going to get right into it, you guys. Of course, right now is a great time for you to tag and share the stream. Go ahead and tag and share the stream with people that you feel could benefit from culturally responsive news emanating from right here in the Emerald City. Got to give a big shout out to our partners over at the South Seattle Emerald and over at KBCS 91.3 at Bellevue College. Also, keeping this message alive, want to remind people that if you're still a bit hesitant or need some COVID resources, Here For Us WA.org has produced some culturally responsive communications around COVID and all things hesitant. Look, you know, they got into the Black community and they said, we need to talk to people, figure out why people still aren't getting the vaccine. Obviously, things have been changing and kind of, you know, molding to the situation, but that's a great resource if you're still looking for some information. Also, you guys, this is amazing because For Culture is keeping it alive with their grant opportunities. Right now, they have grants for people that are doing arts and preservation type of projects. If you guys know of any artists out there that are looking for funding, make sure they hit up For Culture. They are always being intentional about making sure funding is coming through into the arts industry, and it's important. A lot of times those are the types of projects that slip through the cracks, but they're so necessary, particularly right now in a time where we're seeing so many different things change. Art is one of the ways that we preserve our history. And so definitely make sure that people that you know, or if you're an artist out there yourself, check out these grants over there at For Culture. And it looks like Seattle Colleges, Armand, I know we have this over there. Seattle Colleges is doing scholarships right now, $4,000. And it says, yes, you can buy food. They have some amazing opportunities for our young scholars. And as always, we know that these kinds of funds are necessary. When we think about some of the barriers to college, a lot of the times it is the funding. And so if you guys know of young people that are looking to apply for colleges right now, shout out to Seattle Colleges for being intentional in ensuring that young scholars have less of a barrier. You know, $4,000 can go a long way, particularly with in-state colleges. So grateful to Seattle Colleges for putting this funding source out there. We'll be continuing to lift this up throughout the weeks because we want to make sure people understand about this scholarship opportunity. And I'm glad that they reached out to Converge Media to ensure that we are part of that messaging tool, because honestly, it is so necessary for our audiences to understand. Let's limit these barriers to college acceptance. Let's limit the barriers that some families face when you're dealing with everyday expenses and life. Also, too, we know that COVID has hit us hard in many of our families. And so I love hearing this, that Seattle Colleges is stepping up to the plate. We'll be having more information about that throughout the weeks to come. Also, you know, I got to give a huge shout out. We've been doing this amazing show this week at 8 p.m. Black Love When We Met, and I have the honor of hosting this show and really bringing to light these Black love stories. And last night we had Danica and Blaze on, and they revealed a little bit of some news for our audience.
Babe, I appreciate you so much, and I love you so much, and most importantly, I'm just so blessed that you got a divine being right here in this. That you care of my firstborn. And so I love you most, baby.
Oh my goodness. Wait a minute. Did I hear that right? There is a baby Blaze on the way. He said his first. Oh, look, she's like, I didn't know you was going to go there. Oh my God. Congratulations, you guys. Oh, what an amazing moment last night on Black Love When We Met. Got to give those guys a shout out, and to all the couples that are appearing this week. You guys can check out Black Love When We Met at 8 p.m. right here on Converge Media. And a huge shout out to our partner for Black Love When We Met, the State Hotel. They are such a great partner for us. They are providing a free night stay for all of our couples. And we just appreciate you guys so much. And I got to say, you know, I'm staying there this week myself, and it is an amazing hotel. Let me just say, the bed is definitely amazing. I'm getting some great sleep over there. So thank you so much, State Hotel, for your partnership. We also have a partnership with Presidential Transportation, who is going to be transporting our couples. And we got kind of a curated date night for them, because they also get to go to Alvin Ailey. Those shows are happening on the 26th and 27th of this month. You guys check this out. I mean, an amazing show, really nationally known and acclaimed Alvin Ailey Dance Theater Company is going to be right here in our city. So, you know, check it out, Google it, find a way to get those tickets, because you don't want to miss out on that amazing show. So I'm just so thankful to everybody for Black Love When We Met. It's definitely, my friend said, it's giving her the warm and fuzzies, and I just love it so much. So it looks like we have Brett Hamil's coming up next. Let me just say that we have a great show for you guys. We have Brett Hamil here. He's going to be going over a comic strip that he has that really is eye-opening to some. And for some of us, it's things we've been talking about for a long time. Later on in the show, we also have our guy, Brian Callanan, who will be coming up, and he's going to be sharing with us all things Seattle news, views, and brews. And our distinguished guest of the day, Dr. Nichols himself, is in the building. I'm so excited to talk talk to him later on in the show. Just an acclaimed psychiatrist and psychologist. He knows all things. And I'm telling you, I have been so amazed by his knowledge. I'm just grateful that he made time in his busy schedule to be right here with us on the Morning Update Show. And of course, we got to tap in with our guy, Mike Davis of the South Seattle Emerald, and our very own Clapback Culture, so we can hear about what's going on Clapback coming up tomorrow night. So you guys, we definitely have a jam-packed show, but I'm glad I get this started with Brett. What's up, Brett?
Hey, what's up, Trey? How you doing?
I'm well. How are you, my friend?
I'm good.
Well, I got to say that, we talk about certain things in Seattle. Seattle definitely has some unique nature, and you really are picking up on a lot of that stuff with your comics. Let me just ask you about your process. As you start to experience things personally, how is it that you choose the topics you do to say, this is something that definitely needs to be captured in my comic?
Well, I mean, I've been following, Seattle politics and culture for a long time now, decades, decade. And, certain things just jump out at you that are part of this whole city's narrative, And like lately, it's just been the ridiculousness of this propaganda that's being put out there by Como and Cairo and all the legacy TV news outlets. It's just like, I just see something and my main process is just if I see something that's so infuriating, I have to respond in some way. I make a strip about it. That's usually how it goes.
Yeah, I think many of us, I saw this comic, and I got to tell you, Brett, I was like, you really are spot on, hitting it on the head. I mean, we've been talking about these kind of things, and particularly with the change of mayoral administration, you do see some different tactics come into play. And honestly, it's like there's always this need to try to clean up our city and things like that, right? And different approaches take different shape. So I'll let you go ahead and explain to the audience what we're seeing right here in your comic.
Sure. Okay. Hi, I'm Joel, and I'm a Seattle moderate. Hi, Joel. Your classic, hoodie guy. The truth is, I'm as progressive as anyone. I was at the WTO protests. I brew my own kombucha. I voted for Obama twice. But when I inherited my parents' bungalow in Ballard, I started to see things differently. I activated my Nextdoor account and quickly became aware of all the crime and depravity happening in my neighborhood. At a recent dinner party, I merely suggested the city should set up forced labor camps for the homeless, and all my woke friends recoiled in horror. They called me a Republican. So much for tolerance. That's why I'm so grateful to have this community of like-minded citizens to remind me that we're the real victims here. He's right. Amen.
Oh my goodness, Brett. I mean, honestly, you do it well, my friend. You capture it well. I mean, this is something that we've been seeing here. We talk about Seattle being so progressive, and yet we just keep seeing this gap widening when we're talking about our classes, when we're talking about the generations of wealth being handed down. And when we talk about homelessness in our city, we just keep seeing it rise, Brett. And I know that, a lot of people say, well, look, a lot of people come to Seattle, they flood here because services are here. But the ideas of cleaning up these streets has taken a toll. I mean, what are some of your takeaways and what you're really hoping the audience takes away from this comic?
Well, the basic point of the comic is that people consider themselves progressive just by virtue of living in Seattle and being surrounded by like-minded people. But a lot of their ideas and the people they're willing to create coalitions with are, conservative, Republican, and worse. You see it all the time where people are willing to trade progressive values just for some kind of comfort they think they're going to get from not having to see homeless people. And kind of the kicker of the whole thing is that like a lot of these so-called solutions in #OneSeattle are really just about ameliorating people's discomfort at seeing homeless people. They're not even about fixing the problems of homelessness or throwing more resources at the people who are experiencing this. They're about throwing resources at the people who have to see it on their daily commute or whatever, which is just always mind-blowing to me that there's a large, probably majority voting bloc in this city that considers themselves the victims of homelessness because they have to see it around them. which just is just such a shocking lack of compassion. It's hard to even conceive of, but it's so normal. It's so normalized now. And then you see, like, Como News will go out there and they'll literally do a news spot about a certain street corner that people have complained about. And then 2 days later, Bruce Harrell will come give a speech and say, we cleaned it up. And then a day after that, the same people will be back there. The only difference is they painted over the really cool mural that was there. So, as I see this news footage of Russian propaganda and how the people in Russia believe that they're not invading Ukraine. I understand that disconnect, because we all saw that in 2020 when, like, national news media was saying that the city was literally on fire and burning to the ground. Meanwhile, I'm walking around on Capitol Hill looking for a place to get a latte. It's just, the disconnect is so wild. And a lot of it is just to push a political agenda. And it's surprising that folks like our new mayor have decided to buy into this whole Trump American carnage narrative of, our cities are disgusting, filthy, burning messes, and we need to send in the jackboots to clean it all up. I mean, what's their end game here? You're now surfing off the Republican storyline. Where are you going to take us from there?
Yeah, no, absolutely, Brett. I mean, this is something that I think is so key here with Seattle in particular. And, I say that, all the time. I have this kind of sliver of optimism, right, for the city. And I go, honestly, the way that we do things can really change the way the nation does things. Yes, every city has its unique characteristics, but I do believe that Seattle has the opportunity to lead. And, I think, many people were saying, okay, with a change in mayoral administration, maybe we'll see some of those things take shape. So it does, kind of get to an unfortunate part when you start to see that things are like, wow, it's taken a turn that we didn't know it was going to take. And, we do have the Regional Homelessness Authority, right? And I think, when we had Mark Dones on, they were saying that, look, they're like, it's my job to ensure that the tactics that haven't worked for the last 30 years around, homelessness, that we actually find some real solutions. And it's one of those things for me where I'm like, look, we need those solutions right here in our city. It doesn't matter where people are coming from. We do see it here. And, weeks ago, Omari shared some footage of just his walk down here to the studio and seeing, these security officers, throw a homeless guy from one side of the street to the other side of the street just to clear him out from in front of a building that they were, I guess, hired to protect. But it's one of those things for me where I go, no, where is the real humanity? How do we address this in a way that is holistic? We talk about it in community all the time, that there is a need for community rooted solutions and culturally responsive care for our folks that are out there unhoused. We do see different efforts, but you're so right with this comic, Brett. I mean, I just think you hit the nail on the head. And hopefully, when I saw this, I just thought those who really understand that they fit this mold, that they see themselves in this and that it makes them think differently about their approach. I'm always, every time we get into conversations out there in community, let me tell you, even for some in the Black community that are like, oh no, I had to call the police because these guys were over here. And I'm going, what? You called the police on homeless people because they were trying to find a place to like sleep for the night? I definitely think that you really hit the nail on the head with this one, Brett. Please let our audience know how they can follow up with you and make sure that they are staying in tune with all the things you're producing over there. Great work.
Thank you. Yeah, you can always check out my weekly Sunday comics on Instagram or over at the South Seattle Emerald website. I put those out every week, so you get to see what's driven me crazy this week. And it's usually a lot of the same themes and dealt with in different ways. You can also buy the first best of collection of Sunday comics, which I now have on sale. You can go to my Twitter or whatever and look for the link. This is 60 pages. This is 2 or 3 years of the Durkin administration. It's called Bye Bye Tear Gas Jenny. It's a great little, if you want a little historical relic of those dark days, you can order one of these for $10. And just stay in touch. It's always fun when people repost comic strips like that one to the Ballard neighborhood Facebook group, and people just lose their minds and spin themselves in circles trying to explain why that's not about them. So yeah, share, say hi.
There we go. Share and buy. Brett, thank you so much for joining me today. Great work as always, and looking forward to, the comics you have coming up. Appreciate you, bro.
Thanks, Trey. Great talking to you.
Oh my goodness. Brett is always on the money with it. And of course, another person who's always on the money, we got our guy, Brian Callanan, coming up next from Seattle News, Views, and Brews. That is right here on Converge Media. Also, he does his thing over there at the Seattle channel. Excited to dive in after this short break with our guy, Brian Callanan. Stay tuned. You guys are watching the Morning Update Show. Hey there, it's Trey Holiday. And of course, Besa and I had to take a trip back to Market Street Shoes to grab some items. They always know what to show us. And let me tell you, we both spent quality time to be sure we collected some amazing additions to our wardrobes. They have some of the most unique bags, shoes, and accessories. I mean, the whole shebang. It's always a good time when I get to shop with my girl Besa. Make sure you go check out Market Street Shoes, y'all, and you too can walk out with some dope gear.
When the pandemic hit, it did affect me. As a barber, I had my own personal reasons why I didn't get vaccinated. At the time, I didn't check the actual source. I thought the vaccine was developed too fast, but I was talking to a doctor and he was telling me more about the vaccine and what it can do to protect us and our family. I wanted to get back to that once was, right? I do feel safe knowing that I am vaccinated. I just hope what I'm saying is reaching into people's heads to know that this is the best decision for all of us.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Morning Update Show. I'm your host, Trey Holiday, for the day while our guy Omari is out. He's been working so hard. But you know what? I know another guy who's been working hard all the time. Brian Callanan, welcome.
Good to be here, Trey, as always.
Yeah, good to see you. And I'm just really grateful that we get to spend these Wednesdays kind of diving in. You were saying that, look, what Brett Hamil just shared was hitting home. Tell us about your perspective, Brian.
Yeah, we're talking about this on the podcast tonight on Converge at 7 o'clock. And thanks, everybody who tunes in and gives us feedback. It's always great to see. But what we're talking about is, I think, this new era of Mayor Harrell's administration of what's going to be happening.
Hey there, it's Trey Holiday. And of course, Besa and I had to take a trip back to Market Street Shoes to grab some items. They always know what to show us. And let me tell you, we both spent quality time to be sure we collected some amazing additions to our wardrobes. They have some of the most unique bags, shoes, and accessories. I mean, the whole shebang. It's always a good time when I get to shop with my girl Besa. Make sure you go check out Market Street Shoes, y'all, and you too can walk out with some dope gear.
When the pandemic hit, it did affect me. As a barber, I had my own personal reasons why I didn't get vaccinated. At the time, I didn't check the actual source. I thought the vaccine was developed too fast, but I was talking to a doctor and he was telling me more about the vaccine and what it can do to protect us and our family. I wanted to get back to that once was, right? I do feel safe knowing that I am vaccinated. I just hope what I'm saying is reaching into people's heads to know that this is the best decision for all of us.
All right, welcome back. Thank you guys so much. There, our director Salman said, "Wait, audio issue. You know we got to get it right." So Salman, thank you so much for making it work. You guys should have seen him right here in the studio making it work during that commercial break. Now, folks can hear him now, right?
Yep, I think
Salman,
so.
we're good.
I think we're here.
Okay,
All
we're
right.
good now.
Work
But you
in
were
progress.
just saying, really,
Yeah.
that you're seeing this kind of turn with Mayor Harrell's administration, really connected to people coming back to the job at City Hall.
Yeah, and I think that's an important part of it. March 16th here is that day when we're going to see a lot more people back working at City Hall, back working at county government too. There's going to be some growing pains to deal with that in terms of people coming back in. Are we wearing masks? Are we not? That's going to be kind of a work in progress there. But I think it was very important. I think there is a connection to what happened there on 4th Avenue and those camps that were cleared out. The mayor really wanted to make sure those camps were cleared out. He actually reached out. The city reached out a few weeks ago on February 20th, just to give some backstory here. They reached out February 20th and said, look, we're going to have to move people out of here. We wanted to make sure we give you notice here. At that point, there was that group from Stop the Sweeps. They actually moved in with some of these people who were homeless there and actually stayed with them over the course of the next several days. There was some back and forth there. The Stop the Sweeps folks weren't around there as much. And then it all turned last Tuesday. It was very early in the morning. The police came down, and without that traditional 48 hours warning, they just came in and cleared these camps out. Now, the justification was that this is blocking a public right-of-way, which is true. This is blocking potentially people that are coming back to work at City Hall or whatever else. But it's when those justifications are used that's really interesting. And I'm talking about this on the podcast tonight with David Croman from the Seattle Times. And he makes a very interesting point, which is this type of activity, clearing these camps without a lot of notice, that happened quite a bit during the Durkin administration, just about every day from what we remember there. So it's important to remember there is some context to this. There's some history to this. Have we changed that? Are we out of the COVID pandemic to the point where we can start doing this on the streets, meaning the city of Seattle can start doing this on the streets? I'm not quite sure. I think that's the kind of position we're in right now. However, I will point out that Mayor Harrell is trying to address this. He actually spoke at a press conference last week regarding some questions about this camp clear out. Here's what the mayor had to say.
I'm in here for the long game to rehabilitate Seattle. I'm here for the long game, and you don't emphasize the strategy in the long game by creating chaos and anger in the city. This is one Seattle where we listen to one another. And I ask those with perhaps intolerance of what you see, bear with me.
Wow. I mean, the approach may mimic Mayor Durkin's administration, but it's clear Mayor Harrell is trying to address that even by saying that right there. I mean, this is something that I think when he talks about the long game, it is something we have to kind of see play out over time. I keep mentioning the Regional Homelessness Authority because literally there is partnerships happening on the back end too.
I will say that, and I think all the reporting I've seen about this, and this is an interesting piece of it, the King County Regional Homelessness Authority did not know the sweep was going to be happening on 4th Avenue. So that's a piece of this too, because I know that the Regional Homelessness Authority is very much focused on downtown. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. They just got a lot of money from a number of different donors and benefactors from the business community who are saying, all right, we want you to focus on downtown. Mark Dones is going to do that, right? But if you're not working in lockstep with the people like City of Seattle, which is, of course, the biggest player when it comes to the KCRHA in terms of who's putting money in. This is an important piece here. So I think this is one test for the Harrell administration. He's really trying to say, at least from his perspective, that, okay, we're checking this out. We're going to make sure we do this cleaning out first, and then we're going to bring in social services. But it's that question of outreach too. When is that happening? How is that happening? What groups are going to be involved in that social service outreach? Still some questions there, but I got to say, this is going to be a big test for Merrill Harrell going forward to see how he's going to be able to deal with the RHA with this.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for introducing that bit of information, because I do think it's important when we talk about a holistic approach. Everybody has to be on the same page.
Yeah.
What else you guys have coming up on Seattle News, Views, and Brews, Brian?
It's actually the theme of outreach is kind of playing through it. The Seattle City Council is talking this week about something called the Seattle Transportation Plan. Now, the city's got a ton of different plans out there. There's plans for everything, right? Sometimes there's a plan about how they're going to make a plan. But this one's interesting because they're really trying to reach out to marginalized communities, communities of color, and trying to bring those people in when different decisions about transportation are made. And I found this is very interesting. And I know this is a delicate topic to talk about, but how do you reach out to these different communities? How do you reach out to the Black community? How do you reach out to the Native American community? Things of that nature. This is something the city's working on and actually has set up a few different tiers with which these community groups can get involved. $5,000 if you can actually make a connection with your group, $30,000 if you can actually impact some policy advice. So I think the city's trying to put its money where its mouth is, but I'm a little concerned by this because, as you know, just a couple years ago, this is something that the Durkin administration and the city council were wrestling with. We're talking about the Equitable Communities Initiative from the mayor. We're talking about the Black Brilliance Project from the city council. Not everybody on the same page there either. So I'm really interested to see on this. Transportation is a big issue, crosses a lot of different boundaries in terms of issues in our city, doesn't it? And when you look at this and trying to get this input, how that actually happens, that's crucial. Making sure you do that outreach in the proper way is really interesting because communities like the Black community are not monolithic. We know that, but how do you get that authentic outreach? It's a question I have, Trey, and this always comes up, and I think with this transportation plan, it's coming up again.
Well, this is why I think from my perspective in community and in community organizing, I always think, well, what you have to do is you have to bring it to where people are already congregating.
Mm-hmm.
The idea is that, a lot of these initiatives come up and they're kind of done in a silo, and then they go, well, how do we connect with the Black community? How do we connect with Latino community? How do we connect with, our indigenous community? At the end of the day, you have to be like, you know what, we don't know what's best. So we got to go where they already are. We got to go to community organizations where they are embedded in those communities. We got to actually design these solutions in step with them. Like, I mean, that's the thing for me. It's like, it's as stark as day. Sometimes for me, I'm like, it's very, very clear here what needs to happen. It needs to be holistic. I think everything should be at this point, because we realize that our city is suffering from not having a holistic approach. And so, we'll see how they do this. But a lot of the times is that everybody, we all have our job. We all have our roles to play. Right. And so, yes, sometimes it's taxing on a community organization when it's like the King County, the city, anybody is reaching out to say, hey, we need you guys to connect with your community on this specific issue. Instead of being like, you know what, we actually need some type of community board that helps us design these solutions based on the knowledge that they already have from their communities. So we are being intentional from the very beginning about our approach. I don't know, Brian, there's a lot of ways it can go.
There is. And it's one of these interesting things. You hear this phrase, Seattle process, a lot, something that a lot of people would say is a bad thing. We're not getting anything done. We got all this process. But I think there is some importance to that process if that process is getting that authentic feedback. So I know people want to get things done, especially with transportation around here, but this is something that I hope people are really paying attention to, because I know we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, Trey, the Sound Transit project that's rolling through right now, getting built out in the Chinatown ID, out to West Seattle, out to Ballard, it's rolling through downtown too. This is the kind of thing where I think the city is really looking for some input from its community. Sound Transit is too, but that's a project that impacts the city, right? So the city, the county, a lot of different people are looking for this input. I really urge people to reach out to their council members on a local level and try to figure out how you can get involved, because this input is super important right now when these projects are getting off the ground.
My goodness. I mean, I know we're short on time today,
Yeah.
but I so appreciate you
Yeah.
for coming through and always being on the money. You
bet.
guys are always doing it. Please make sure folks know how they can connect with you and
Yeah.
Seattle News Views and Brews.
Thanks. I want to make sure people support Seattle News, Views, and Brews on Patreon. Hit us up there. You can watch the show there. Also, check me out at Callanan Seattle on Twitter. I'm actually talking to the representative from District 2 on the City Council, Tammy Morales, this week. Also, District 1 in West Seattle, Lisa Herbold. I have him on the show this week. I always try to reach out to people to give me questions for these council members. I'm trying to be that conduit to the council for you. So please do reach out to me. I want to make sure that I get your questions to them.
Amazing as always, Brian. Thank you so much for being with me today.
Great to be with you, Trey.
Always. I'm telling you, so many topics to dive into. And after this break, we're going to hear from a legend, really a legend. Dr. Nichols is in the building. I'm so excited. I kind of want to get his take on some of the things we've been talking about in this show today. You guys stay tuned. You're watching the Morning Update Show.
Hi, this is Robert Battle, Artistic Director of the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater, and we're thrilled to be performing live on stage again. Come see the extraordinary Ailey dancers during my 10th anniversary season and enjoy some wonderful new work, plus returning audience favorites, including Revelations.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Morning Update Show. I'm your host, Trey Holiday, right here for today. And I'm so excited to be able to sit down with Dr. Nichols right now. Thank you so much, Dr. Nichols, for joining me.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're only in town every so often. And I know last time your schedule was just packed. Everybody is trying to get you into their spaces, but it's because of what you bring. Let's talk a bit about your background, which is so extensive. I mean, you've done a lot.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm 90, so I have done a lot. My education is typical not so typical. I come into education at a time when there's still segregation. I live in the North, so it's a different type of segregation. I can be more specific. I wanted to do industrial psychology, which was a terminal master's degree at that time. The dominant universities did not want a large number of Blacks in those programs. So what they said was, you have to do a practicum that is 1 year. But when you went to do the practicum or get someplace to accept you, you'd have practicums for white students from the ceiling to the floor. None of these companies would accept you as a Black. So instead of the university saying, we'll find you a program, we'll do something, they said, it would be unfair for us to accept you for a program in which you could not complete the requirements for graduation, which was a very nice way of saying, we don't want you, we're not going to help you out. So what traditionally was done in the early part of the century, of last century, and up to even now, when you can't get into programs, your parents send you abroad. Mm. So the leading country at that time for industrial psychology was Germany. And I was sent to Professor Kretschmer at Tübingen in 1955. And I did my practicum at Mercedes-Benz and Zeiss Icon, the camera company. So you can't beat those two.
Wow. And
when I came back, for some strange reason, I was still Black and they didn't hire me, but I don't know why. I thought they could tell by my long blonde hair and light blue eyes, so I had changed. But, so I went and I did my doctorate at Innsbruck under Kohler and in Austria. And when I came back, I went to apply for a job. I was asked to apply at General Motors College in Flint, Michigan. My home is Detroit. I drove up. And when I got there, the man had seen all my papers, but he hadn't seen me. And when I got out of the car, he was a little hesitant, and we said, "How do you do?" And then after I'd gone through all my papers, oh, I'm excited, oh, wonderful, wonderful, what you do. And I said, "Well, is there something missing? There's something else you need?" He said, "No, you have everything I want and more than I could have hoped for. But you know, you should not have applied. You're a Negro."
Wow.
Just like that. So it's been a long struggle, okay? But that's the existentialistic reality. And to all the young people today, you don't quit, you don't give up, you don't let them destroy you, you just keep pushing, and eventually you get what you need.
Well, you have done just that. I mean, the ways that you've been able to take your studies and really be such a pioneer when we talk about the ways that we deal with certain things. I mean, you're sitting here and you can tell, you know, we're talking about homelessness here and the approach to it. We're talking about how these progressives in Seattle see themselves. And I know through your study, you really have a grand understanding of, you know, the cultures and how they build relationships and how they deal with certain things. Tell us a little bit about that, because I was blown away by some of the things that you shared the last time you were in Seattle.
Well, because of my training, I'm a psychologist. So I look at things as a psychologist. But because of the European training, I look also to classical philosophy. And when you look at ethnic groups, you don't always look at them in a minus or negative way. You want to see what are the strengths and the positives of that group. But not just one group, it's for each group, what are the strengths and the positives. And what I found is that the European culture is primarily focused on objects. And that's because of this very scarcity of to survive in ancient Europe. There was always not enough food, not enough this, not enough that, and people died. So in order to make sure that you have enough, then the acquisition of objects, and that could be politics or any other number of things, not just material objects, is the highest value. And for us as African Americans, this is also true for Latinx and also true for Afro-Arabs. The highest value is in the relationship. And if you understand that the highest value is in the relationship, it says that as a group of people, we see ourselves to be equal to each other. And that's because there's no scarcity in those countries like in Africa and so on. All right? There's food all the time. It's like 9 months you can grow anything. It's always there. So the idea is then, if it's not scarcity in food and all these things you're struggling for, then what do? You establish relationships to maintain order by giving people. Now, here's the part that you really need to look at carefully. If we see ourselves as equal, and you do something that treats me as less than equal, you have treated me with disrespect. And that destroys the relationship. So last century, Aretha Franklin said a song. And what was her song?
Respect.
Respect, yes. So it's that powerful in our culture. In Asian culture, the highest value is in the cohesiveness of the group. So if you look at traditional Asian culture, people function in the workplace and other places as a group. And the group must come to a consensus. So you can't just say that that's the Asian group and are you the boss of the Asian group, then you tell them what to do. It doesn't work that way. Before you can say 10 of us are coming to your meeting, the person you assume to be in charge has to go and get a consensus from each of the persons saying, yes, I will be there at 10 o'clock on Tuesday. And once they have a consensus, they come together as a cohesive group, and the spokesperson says, we will be there Tuesday at 10 o'clock, and all of them will be there Tuesday at 10 o'clock. So these are axiologies. These are value systems of different cultures. When you understand them and you respect them, then you can do the things you need to do. One other, you have a large population of Native Americans out here. Well, the highest value for the Native American is oneness with the Great Spirit. So a lot of the activities that they do, just routine activities, are prayerful activities. There's a constant set of prayers that go. Not fixed prayers, but prayerfulness, or the presence of prayer. I have a friend, her name is Victoria, Native American, long hair. And in the morning, when she's plaiting her hair, she's saying prayers, almost like a rosary. So it's that very close connection constantly in what you're doing. And you are in nature. You're looking to see, what is it in the nature that brings me closer to the oneness with God?
Wow.
Okay.
Well, yeah, absolutely. This is the stuff that I think so many of us need to understand when we're crafting certain solutions around the voids that we see in our world. And you know, you get to go all over the world and really share so much of what you've gained. You have your business that does so. But tell us about how your presence and what you bring into spaces. You know, just was with you this weekend at the Anti-Racist Training, People's Institute. Shout out to People's Institute, doing great work. But you're always entering these spaces and bringing this wealth of knowledge. What is some of the things that you're really hoping people understand after they've had a session with you and they've been able to now take this back into their organization or institution and change the way maybe that they're doing things?
Well, if we don't understand each other culturally, then we will not survive the 21st century as a first-class power. Globalization is a reality. We are in competition with all of the countries around the world, and the number one competition that we have is China. So, all of these countries and our country, we are a multi-ethnic, pluralistic, and linguistically diverse society. And that means that we have people from every place in the world, every thought process, every way of reasoning, we have right here, which reflects the world. So if we're going to interact with the world, then we need to utilize all the people that we have to do that interaction. So the 20th century, we had a vertical hierarchical organizational structure. You had a boss and somebody, the boss moved up and he liked you and you were loyal, you'd move up. That system crashed. It doesn't exist anymore. Now we have what is called team. You work on a team. That's the unit of production. The unit of production is team. We know from the major work of Scott Page that homogeneous teams, all white male teams, start a project, but when it's compared to a heterogeneous team, males, females, all part of the multi-ethnic pluralistic society, those teams are more creative and productive. So if you can't get your act together and work with people who are different, respect and stay on the team, then you won't be on a team and you won't have a job.
My goodness, this is I mean, you're giving us the academic foundation of what I'm saying when we talk about a holistic approach.
That's it.
Right.
That's
I mean,
yeah.
we say this oftentimes in community, but I promise you, when you come back, I need to do a full in-depth one-on-one with you, because there's so much here that lies underneath the surface. And it's one of those things that I know so many of us could be benefiting from. You know, as folks are probably now going to be researching you and finding out how to connect with you, let them know your website and let them know how they can connect with you.
Well, my website is ejnichols.com. And you can go on YouTube and you'll see things on YouTube that will help you to better understand what I try to convey and what I try to work at. And if you have questions, I'm listed so they can find me. Okay?
Oh, Dr. Nichols, it is just my pleasure, even for a sliver of your time today, to share with our audience. You really just gave me so much life right then in that moment. Thank you so much for being with
You're
me
very
today.
welcome, and I thank you for inviting me. And I'm really very proud of the work that you're doing here and your motto here, Black Media Managers. So it does, and thank you.
Absolutely. That means the world coming from you. Oh my goodness, you guys. I'm telling you, just be looking out for a full-on special with myself and Dr. Nichols. It's got to happen the next time he's in town. Phenomenal, phenomenal knowledge. And of course, we got our guy, Mike Davis, coming up after this short break from the South Seattle Emerald and our very own clapback culture. We get to dive into all things clapback after this. Stay tuned. You're watching the Morning Update Show.
Hi, this is Robert Battle, Artistic Director of the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater, and we're thrilled to be performing live on stage again. Come see the extraordinary Ailey dancers during my 10th anniversary season and enjoy some wonderful new work, plus returning audience favorites, including Revelation.
In the depths of Belize, the travelers come across the waters, harvesting with their hands, learning of resilience rooted deep in the lands. Culture thriving like a fire ablaze, sizzling with a pop and a chop, sharing its ways. Knowledge simmers and grinds into the hearts and minds, cutting away from the surface stories and colonial lies, boiling it down, breaking its shell as the truth pours out and gets plated collectively with love, spooned into bowls, feeding the soul. Garifuna, alive and strong at Palmetto Grove.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Morning Update Show. I'm your host, Trey Holiday, and it has been a phenomenal show today. I got to bring in my guy, Mike Davis. What's good, brother?
Hey, what's up, Trey? How you doing?
Hey, good. You know what? I was about to say, don't tell me you start on mute again.
I'm ready.
You're ready today. But you know, right there, I mean, you heard Dr. Nichols. I mean, we talk about holistic approaches all the time, brother. And I'm telling you, that right there was so foundational for me. How did you respond to some of the stuff that Dr. Nichols was just talking about?
I think I responded honestly similar to you. Like everything that he says is on the money. These are conversations that are already kind of happening and things that we observe in real time every day. But to hear it broken down so academically, like that was the piece that I really connected with. And I think that having someone that can talk about these things in such an academic way, maybe he'll be able to connect with other folks a little bit better than someone like me who's just going to jump in and talk with heart and passion, because we're saying the same things. He just has a really, really, really great way of saying it.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%. That's why I'm so glad that he was able to join us. But you guys always got some things going on, man. Tell us what's going on this week on Clapback, brother.
Ooh, okay. I mean, look, this is one of those weeks where we end up with so many topics. It's going to be hard to know where exactly we go. But I'm going to break down some of the things that Julia and I have been kicking back and forth. So we got Pfizer CEO talking about a fourth dose. You know, is that necessary or is that a cash grab? We're going to break that down. We got a lawmaker in Texas who has entered a bill to make women having abortions punishable by the death penalty, which is wild. So we got to talk about that. There was a man who shot 5 homeless men between New York and Washington, D.C., killing one of them, and the authorities have a suspect. So he might be off the streets. And then, you know, we're going to sports. We got Naomi Osaka, a tennis player who kind of broke down after a match after being heckled. LeBron James put up a lot of patents It looks like he's trying to jump into the metaverse. So he's doing some sneaker stuff and some basketball courts in the metaverse. We got to talk about that. The White House has stepped up. We covered this before. Their HBCUs across the country were receiving bomb threats this year. And now the White House has some grant funds to go towards safety for the HBCUs that receive those bomb threats. We're definitely going to look at these gas prices, you know, with the price of oil going down. Why are gas prices still going through the roof? We're going to have to dive into that. And then, you know, we're going to talk a little bit about this Kanye West, Kim Kardashian situation that we're watching play out in front of our eyes, man. You know, it seems like he's stalking her. It's getting a little bit more and more aggressive. And, you know, we're going to dive into that. So we got a whole bunch of topics ranging from politics to culture to entertainment to sports. We're going to be all over the place. We're going to have a lot of fun on Thursday night.
You know, I gotta say, you guys always got so many great topics, but it's really because our country keeps on pouring out these topics and these opportunities to dive into these discussions, bro. And the thing is this, you know, you're talking about LeBron James and the metaverse. Let me tell you that, you know, it's like, it reminds me of being like one of the first people on YouTube, one of the first people on Instagram, one of the first people on TikTok. And so many people now are talking about this metaverse thing. I still have yet to wrap my head all the way around it because I'm still trying to figure out Instagram. Okay. So like literally, I feel like there's so many of us that these things kind of play out, and it almost forces us, even when we don't necessarily have an interest in something, you know, because our society is changing so much and digitizing itself so much, it forces us to figure it out when we don't even really want to. Man, how are you feeling about all this metaverse talk?
To be honest, I was petrified at first. I think I was kind of where a lot of other folks were, like, what is this? What's going on? Like, we're already so attached to our phones, but at least when we're staring at our phone, we're still in reality. The metaverse is kind of that next bridge to take you from reality to literal virtual reality. And the idea of that, I was definitely hesitant. I think one thing that jumped out to me during our early reporting of the metaverse was when Mark Zuckerberg, he was approaching big business with the idea of the metaverse towards, I don't know if I could say the end of the pandemic, because technically we're still here, but you know, we're making this transition. But his idea was to have workplaces join the metaverse, and they would build an office space in the metaverse and have employees show up to work in the metaverse as opposed to physically going to an office. And that was something that I was kind of like, whoa. So there's so many different places that this is going. And I think that your analogy of like yourself and YouTube and kind of getting in early is a good one. And I hope that, you know, seeing people like LeBron James and other Black folks jump on, I think it's going to be important for our community to not get left behind. I think the metaverse is inevitable. I think it's something that is going to happen. And as we shift towards that, we got to make sure that our people are there and that we're ready so that, you know, if there's new resources, new opportunities that are going to come by way of the metaverse, we need to be able to take advantage.
Oh, Mike, man. I'm telling you, as you're talking, I'm like, oh man, this is a next level. I mean, you're talking about creating workspaces in there. And let me just say this for me is really real life beginning to mimic what I've seen in TV shows. I watch a lot of different, you know, shows from back in the days. And one of the shows I watched was Supergirl. And in Supergirl, they literally had an entire universe where people would put these things on their eyes, and literally they would be in this other universe, this digitized like metaverse thing. Literally what you're talking about, like sharing with one another, you know, going out with their girlfriends in there. I've seen this in a lot of different things. We've seen this kind of in Black Mirror. I mean, I'm telling you that it's now becoming like a real thing. So I'm so glad you guys are going to be diving in on Clapback, man. Make sure people know where they can find you, Mike.
I will. And one last thought too on the metaverse. Everything that you're saying is right. When we're looking at these patents that LeBron James is doing it, Nike has done it too. Like they're trying to create sneakers that exist only in the metaverse that you can buy in the metaverse. People are going to be able to build houses in the metaverse. So you'll have your avatar. You'll be able to go from your house to your friend's house in the metaverse and then wake up in the morning, go to work in the metaverse. Go play basketball there, buy clothes there, buy shoes there. There's commerce there. It's wild. But I got to get out of here. So you can find me, South Seattle Emerald. Anywhere you see the Emerald, you're going to find me always. I will be here Wednesday mornings on the Morning Update show, and Thursday nights, 7 p.m., Clapback Culture. We are discussing the metaverse and a bunch of other things. So anybody, man, you live in America, this is the show for you, because we're talking about all the topics. Come see us, 7 p.m.
All the topics, man. You and Jules always on the money. Thank you so much, Mike, for joining me. I think we could have a whole special on the metaverse. Let me tell you. I mean, you're talking about shoes and I got to get my brain right because it ain't ready. Thank you so much, Mike, for joining me.
All right, have a good one, Trey.
Oh my gosh. All things metaverse. Let me tell you, my brain was just like swirling as Mike was talking. I don't know that I'm ready, y'all. But you know what? It's been an amazing, amazing show. I just thank you guys so much for supporting us here at Converge Media in the Black Media Matters studios. Thank you to all my guests today. Amazing work from Brett Hamil. Of course, our guy, Brian Callanan, bringing all things Seattle news, views, and brews in the Seattle channel. And the distinguished guest of the day, Dr. Edwin Nichols. I mean, when I tell you, I am so elated that he was able to make it work with his schedule this time. You guys be on the lookout for more. I'm going to try to figure out how to get back on his schedule. And of course, our guy, Mike Davis, we so appreciate you. Again, you guys, ticket sales are going on right now for Alvin Ailey. It's coming to Seattle right here on the 26th and 27th. Dr. Nichols just said that he saw it in Washington, D.C., and it was a fabulous show. So you guys don't want to miss out on that. Also, oh my gosh, tonight, my girl Amanda and her boo Tarek will be joining me on Black Love When We Met, right here on Converge Media tonight at 8 p.m. So excited that they will be here tonight, and want to give a huge shout out to the State Hotel once again for your partnership, to Presidential Transportation for your partnership, and also to Alvin Ailey. Each couple will be getting tickets to Alvin Ailey as well as a free stay at the State Hotel, and they'll get some presidential treatment and transportation, which I can say after experiencing it firsthand, kudos to you, my brother G Press, for your phenomenal work on that company. I mean, we had an amazing driver when we went to Black Violin, and I'm gonna tell you right now, there's no treatment like it. It's way better than Uber or Lyft or anything else that you guys have going on. So check out Presidential Transportation. You guys, thank you so much again for joining me today. I am so glad that I'll be able to join you guys back here tonight at 8 p.m. for Black Love When We Met. And of course, for me, see yourself as a part of the solution. All of our guests here today have done just that in their own unique ways. Be inspired so you too can see yourself as a part of the solution. And as my guy, Big O, would say, go forward in your purpose and go forward in your humanity. Until tomorrow at 11 a.m. Peace.
What do I see through a lens of fear? 1,000 little steps to go. What do I fear after all these years? Lord knows I don't even know. I've been running on the edge of a sundial, sleeping in the shadow. I've been begging you to see me, then hiding beyond the unreachable. Looking out left on a right-hand turn, just trying to make a deal. A lazy shoes and love is a love that churn. That's the kind of food that heals. I've been searching for the end of an era, waiting to be ready. The world is bigger than a moment. Be steady, that's how you can feel it's real. But I feel naked in my new clothes, 'cause I got used to hiding the holes. This whole world got new tricks and I'm in the thick of it. no one is a shadow. I know no one